So now bringing you the fifth and final Best International Film Oscar nominee for this year. We're hitting up Matteo Garrone's Io Capitano. Christy, tell us about it.
I'm proud of us for doing this. You know, it's important to me that we get all 5 international film nominees in here. And it's good that you're here today now. Thank you very much. Come on back next Tuesday at noon Pacific. We're going to do all of our Oscar picks category by category. Bring your ballot. We're super psychic and can help you win your pool.
I just want to make sure everybody knows I suck at this.
Disclaimer from Alonso.
For entertainment purposes only.
Yes, don't try this at home. But yeah, we will talk about all the categories. And so we will, of course, talk about the international category. And Io Capitano is among the 5 nominees. This follows 2 teenage boys from Senegal. They are cousins. They are Seydou and Moussa, played by Seydou, Sarr, and Moustapha Fall. And they have these dreams of stardom, of getting to Europe, getting to Italy, and becoming pop stars. You see them in their neighborhood, writing down pieces of lyrics, things they hear on the streets, things maybe like a mom will scold them about, and they'll turn that into a song. And so they have these dreams of making it big and sending money back home to their family. And the film from Matteo Garrone follows them on this arduous journey through Northern Africa and hopefully across the Mediterranean and into Italy, where they can, pursue their dreams. This is my least favorite of the 5 international film nominees. I think this is the weakest of them, especially when you compare it to a film like The Zone of Interest or like The Teacher's Lounge, for example. It's fine. It feels a little... I don't know. We've seen this movie so many times, and there are individually harrowing moments along the way. He's following them one step of the way, as they get passed along from different smugglers, different people who arrest them, different people who shake them down and exploit them. And they're just kids. They're barely older than my son. And so they have, only so much that they can do in the face of that kind of oppression, that kind of authority. It's got to be terrifying for them. And Garrone does not hold back in showing us the kind of torture that they so frequently endure. But there's like an episodic quality to it, like this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And I found the score really overbearing in kind of a hand-holding way. There is some literal hand-holding in the form of magical realism interludes, which didn't really work for me. They felt kind of wedged in and very much at odds with the extreme realism of what these young men are experiencing. I guess that's their mental escape in those moments of terror, but it just didn't work for me. So it's fine. And then we get to the scene on the end. I will say that I don't want to spoil anything for you. If you've seen the trailers, you might have seen some of this imagery. What happens toward the end on this boat is maybe worth getting through everything to get there, because that to me is where it all kind of clicks as far as the realism and the emotional truth and the danger and ultimately possibly the uplift. So it works eventually, but it takes a while to get there.
I think I like it a little more than you, but I mean, you're not wrong. All of those things are true. And I think, if anything, Garrone is trying to tell this story in a way that we haven't seen a lot of other films do. These teenagers are not running from like war. They're not, they haven't been kidnapped. What they're leaving behind in their country is sort of a lack of economic opportunity. Although there are some jobs, like they work after school with like construction crews to sort of try and earn money for this passage. And they have, loving home lives, but they want to be better, wage earners for those families. And so they think that Europe is the way to go. And yeah, I think they don't skimp on the horrors along the way. At one point they have to cross the desert on foot in a part that's really intense. But I think at the same time, Garrone is trying to take a humanist approach and not just bombard us with a cavalcade of horrors. And so I don't know, I think it's effective. It is probably the most earnest and didactic of the five.
Standard.
Of the five international nominees, it's the one that feels like it wants to teach you something, wants you to come away with a feeling about the world as it is right now. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does, you're right, it does pale against films that are more ambitious and trying for more stuff. But I think that for what Io Capitano is trying to do, it mostly accomplishes those goals. I think the two lead performances are really effective from, first time actors. And it's fine.
But a film that's one of the 5 best films in international cinema shouldn't be fine.
Well, yeah, but
right?
I mean, I think, I'll tell you, in years past, this category has been really overloaded with like sentimental and, just heavy-handed films about various topics. So the fact that this is the only one that we're kind of calling out for being that among 5 is that's a big step forward for the Academy, I would say.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And the two young men are very good, in terms of like, they're not actors per se, right? This is probably their first film, I'm guessing. Their names are the same as their characters' names. So I'm assuming this is the first thing for them. And so it probably was a very arduous shoot in a lot of ways.
I don't know how you tell this story without it being episodic, frankly, because it is about like encountering one barrier after another and thinking that you've figured it out and that it's going to be taken care of. But at every turn, there's some new thing that gets thrown in their way, and they're separated for a while and have to find each other again. And so like, I honestly don't know, like, unless you were telling it in flashback or something, I think you're kind of forced by the Odyssey structure that you're on here to have to tell it that way.
The simplicity of the narrative. I guess so. Because it just felt to me like this story is fine. It's a story of overcoming adversity and the odds and the elements. It will be uplifting, I'm sure, for a lot of viewers, And again, the emotional punch at the end makes it pretty much worthwhile.
Yeah, that you definitely lead with that. I would say for a film that I think is that's a different way of talking about the refugee crisis, and I think is a very damning film about how there's a prevalence of racism in certain European countries when it comes to refugees of another color. The Romanian film RMN that came out last year that didn't get a huge amount of attention, but from the great Cristian Mungiu, who did 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, really gets into that. And that was one of my favorite films of last year, and I wish it were on this list, frankly. But I'm not mad about Io Capitano. It's this is the kind of movie that would guarantee it would be a lock most years because of the way it's set up. So
so what's your number then?
Like a 7.2. It is, I think it's effective. It is not as he doesn't take as big a swing as he might have, but I think for telling this kind of story, he's doing it well.
I'll say 6. It's solid. It's fine. It's not a bad film. It's just the weakest of these 5. So Io Capitano is in theaters, I believe now, probably trickling out. So keep an eye out for it to come near you.